What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update, and obviously we will be starting with the manager talk once again. And since we've last been on, Ali Gold has been talking, and has been talking specifically about Maurizio Pochettino. He says, I wouldn't rule out Pochettino yet because this extra time may well decide what the inside of the club looks like with Paratici's future. Pochettino is not the biggest fan of the sporting director setup. So do you feel like if Paratici was to leave, he could become elevated to number one choice even?
Potentially. Obviously, there's conflicting, not conflicting reports. There's, a split in the boardroom, isn't there? As to part of a few people in the hierarchy want him to return, a few people don't. So that issue still has to be sorted. But maybe if Paratici's future is settled in the summer with him leaving, that maybe would lean a few more of the people in the hierarchy who are against it to lean towards being more open to having him back, seeing as Paratici being here might be part of the reason why they don't want him to return. And with that clash, which is predicted if Pochettino does come while Paratici is here. So I think that definitely leans more in the direction of Pochettino returning if Paratici was to leave. But I still think that Nagelsmann will be our number one choice regardless. I really believe that the hierarchy, it looks like they really want him despite whatever happens. But I think Poch would definitely be more dependent on Paratici staying or not.
And in terms of Paratici leaving, if he does end up leaving at the end of the season, do you reckon there is a slight chance of maybe seeing the return of Paul Mitchell after he's left Monaco to come back to England?
I think there are rumours he's going to Liverpool, but if he's welcome, if he's open to come back to Tottenham, then I for sure would be delighted about that. But he did leave. I'm not sure how much has changed since he's left. So unless we're more willing to spend money or more willing to listen to him, I guess I don't know what the circumstances of his departure were exactly. But there are rumours that he was unhappy with the ownership and things like that. So if he's still got those reservations, I can't see him returning. But for sure, if he's open to returning and we can have him back, I'll take him back.
Bring back the dream team is what I say. That would be so great if we could get those two through the door together, seeing as what they did last time they were at the club. Moving on, a new manager to the list. His name is Arne Slot, Feyenoord manager. Telegraph out in Holland are saying that Arne Slot is now on the managerial list for Tottenham after Conte's departure. Slot does want to stay at Feyenoord until the end of the season. Obviously having an amazing season out in Holland, Feyenoord, scoring tons and tons of goals, but it is the Dutch league, so you've got to caveat it with that. And he's also making a bit of a name for himself, Arne Slot, for being a nice young progressive manager, making his name in the game. Do you think that, though, maybe a move to Spurs might be a bit too soon for him?
I mean, it's hard to say. I would like to see him in the job a bit longer because he's only been at Feyenoord for 2 seasons. Before that, he was at AZ Alkmaar. But I would like to see him doing like the level he's at for a few, like Ten Hag. He was dominating the Dutch league for a while before he made that move to Man United, and obviously he got to the semi-final of the Champions League. Arne Slot got to the final of the Conference League last season, and now they're league leaders in the Dutch league. So clearly he's doing a great job. I do want to see it for a couple more years before I'm convinced like he's ready to make the step up for Spurs. But management is a interesting game because you kind of want to get, in a way, sometimes you want to get the manager on their way up, as opposed to when they've already achieved everything they already achieved. So in a way, you could argue that getting him now would be a good time because you're getting him when he could have a very good future. So I haven't analysed Feyenoord enough. Haven't seen them play too much, but I've heard really good things about him. And look, if they do win the Dutch league, which it looks like they will, that's a really good achievement. But I would like to see like how they do, let's say in the Champions League next season. If they like get out the group stages, or like get to the last 16 or a quarter final, then maybe you're looking like, okay, this guy could take to the next level. But he did get to the final of the Conference League, so it's pretty good.
He did, but like, I always have these reservations about bringing over managers and players from the Dutch league. We see so many with big reputations, players and manager, that come here and just completely flop, don't we? I mean, Frank de Boer obviously comes to mind. I mean, he had that Ajax team and then he came here, couldn't score a goal in his first, how many games was it?
7 games.
7 games and got sacked straight away. You got players like Vincent Janssen, who was banging goals for fun in the Dutch league. He comes here, completely flops. So I mean, there are reservations, aren't there, about players and managers from the Dutch league?
Yeah, there always will be. As long as you have that reputation that you can't be trusted just because they've done well in the Dutch league, there's always going to be those reservations. But I think maybe Ten Hag is breaking those a bit.
Well, yeah. Also, like Ten Hag had a lot more longevity over there than many of these guys did. But let's move on. Let's talk about Heung-min Son be coming out with some interesting quotes on Antonio Conte, and he says, "I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry to him. He is a world-class manager. We had a great journey together. I thank him a lot. I do not know how other players are thinking about him, but I'm sorry to see him go. I should have shown more, but I couldn't. I couldn't help the team, and I feel responsible as he left the club. He surely has a great ability and experience as a coach, and I'm sure he'll have a great success in his other career. Coming back to Spurs, I wish to finish the rest of the season in a great way with my teammates for our club." So he's saying he feels responsible, or partly responsible, for Conte leaving.
Yeah, and that's just Sonny's nature, isn't it? We've heard throughout the season that he feels he needs to be playing better, despite all the excuses that a lot of fans have made, whether they're valid or not. You know, he's not playing the right position. You know, he needs too much defending. All these kind of things. Sonny's always been very kind of brutal on himself, saying, you know, these excuses are just excuses. I need to be playing better. This responsibility's on me. So we know that's kind of Sonny's character. He's always going to feel like that. Clearly, he got on with Conte. We know that. Conte never dropped him throughout his whole period where he was playing badly. He helped Sonny win the Golden Boot last season as well, which is an achievement which will be with him forever. So, of course, he's going to have us... I think Sonny is just one of those characters where he'll always give his best for whatever manager he is. He's always going to have a good relationship with the manager, and I don't think it would be no different just because Conte fell out with a lot of the team. I think Sonny will probably always try his best.
Yeah, and it goes to show the character of the man, and also shows maybe his upbringing and how his dad was so brutal to him in his training and stuff. He's taken that into his professional career. But last but not least, Ivan Perisic. Gazzetta Italia are saying Ivan Perisic could look to leave Tottenham in the summer to join Antonio at his next club, which could realistically be back at Inter Milan.
Well, he's already said, hasn't he, that he misses Milan. He said that like when he was on international duty a few months ago, and it wouldn't surprise me if he decides to leave if Conte's not here. I think obviously Conte was a massive reason he came. That was obvious after their time together at Inter Milan. Look, I thought he had a decent start to his Tottenham career, but I think for the last couple of months it's really fallen flat. And I don't know, there's something seems different with him for sure. Although he did get his first goal not long ago, but I do think a new manager coming in probably will want to play younger players and probably want to refresh from the older guard in the squad, and I think Perisic represents that. And at 34 years of age, I'm not going to be too upset about it. If we can get a bit of money for him, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a shame how, because it looked for everyone to see that the way it started with Ivan Perisic, he was getting assist after an assist. We were scoring a lot of set pieces due to his great, deliveries into the box and him running to the front post and heading it on and stuff like that. It's a shame how it's kind of petered out, isn't it? Because we saw genuine quality there from Ivan Perisic, and then since the World Cup, I mean, we've hardly seen anything.
Yeah, I mean, overall, for the overall picture of Perisic's time at Tottenham, if I told you before the beginning of the season he would be on 11 assists and a goal in March, you probably would say that's pretty good going. I think from an output point of view, like in terms of goal contributions, I think he's doing a decent job. But I think what's the worrying thing is he's always been a bit of a defensive liability, even at his previous clubs, and he's always been more of a winger first than a defender, and he's brought that to Tottenham. And the problem is we just don't have the defence to overcome his deficiencies going back, whereas maybe Inter and other clubs, they have had that, and other clubs, only Inter he's been a wing back, and the other clubs he's been more of a winger as opposed to a wing back. So I think at Tottenham,
saw that at the World Cup, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously he's always been a natural born winger. He's been a winger most of his career. He was converted to a wing back to suit Conte's system, and I think while his age was running down, I don't like he was becoming less and less effective as a pure winger. And I do think with the extra space being a wing back afforded him would actually helped his performances. The problem at Tottenham is that
he doesn't have Bastoni.
Exactly, he doesn't have the defensive structure around him to kind of, what's the word? Not overcome, but that he could hide his defensive deficiencies behind, and so he gets exposed. Yeah, exactly, that's the term. And he kind of gets exposed, and when he gets exposed, you know, they're up against defenders that are very much exposed in one-on-one situations, and it's ended up being costing us. So I think in another team, he could still do a decent job. I do think he's slowing down. I think that's obvious at his age, although I do still think he has that ability crossing-wise and going forward, but his ability to take people on seems to be diminishing for sure. So I do think we need younger players, and I think with Udogie coming in, I think it makes sense if we can get some money for Perisic, even if it's 500,000. Just take the money.
Even just the wages off the list. You know what I mean? 180,000 a week he's earning, so it's hefty wages there. Do you have one more?
No.
No. All right. Well, that is your Tottenham update for today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.